Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am joined by Swarmina. I'm trying to really get your name right, Swarnima Bhattacharya. Swarnima is the founder of Thea Care. This is the platform that is enabling the best health for women through nutritional and hormonal health. And she's also the curator of FemCon. FemCon is the very first Indian Women Health Festival. I found that very interesting. I really want to hear more about that. And you're also young health scholar for AstraZeneca, yeah? And be also the youth, you're part of the youth advisory board for Unilever's self-esteem project. You're doing a lot. You're doing so much on this health, women health and sanitation. Um, so before we continue, before we start, maybe you can help us to pronounce your name better and and also tell us how is India?
hmm Right. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to connect, with you. I know, of course, about the work that E Square is doing and Black Boy Entertainment has been doing for a while. It's such a pleasure to connect to the community here. So, my name is Swarnima. It's a difficult name.
Uh-huh.
So, like I keep joking whenever I step outside of India, that I answer with anything that starts with an S. So, my, a lot of my friends just call me Swarns or Swarni or something like that. And it's all fine.
Okay. Okay.
I know you're referring to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, so I'm, like I said, very very glad to join you, and I'm really I'm loving this conversation that's happening around menstrual health
Mm-hmm.
across the world. I think menstrual health is really really having its moment.
Yeah.
And when I had started Tia Care many years ago, it was earlier called Women's Health Line. The landscape was remarkably different at that point of time,
Mm-hmm.
especially in India. There were very few organizations that were actually talking about menstrual health, menstrual disorders, maternal health, mental health.
Yeah.
But the conversation has really changed and evolved over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very heartening for somebody like me who is so passionate about, basically reducing the gender gap in medical research.
Yeah.
That's basically that I'm deeply interested in. That there is a gap in terms of gender. There is a gap in terms of people of color and not people of color. There are all these gaps that exist in medical research,
Yeah.
which
True.
has a bearing in the way we understand female health and understand menstrual health, all of that. So very glad to be here once again.
Mm-hmm.
And let me know. I mean, I would love to show you some glimpses of FemCon, which is India's first women's health festival.
Okay.
And I would love to show you like a short video or a glimpse of the celebration that we've had.
All right. Before we get to that, I would love to know. You are so passionate about what you're talking about. We can actually even feel the passion all the way from here. And I would love to understand what has been your driving force. There must have been a story to get you to this field, being so passionate about women's health. What was there must be a story behind there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there is a story. In fact, there are many stories. I think as we grow older, we realize that there are so many stories always in our heads, and we're not always conscious of it, but they've all played a role. I think the one thing that has always stood out for me is that today I'm sitting in Delhi, which is the capital of the country. I'm, traveling and working all over the world.
Yeah.
But actually, I was born and brought up in a very small city
Mm-hmm.
in India. It was not at all, I mean, it was a very regressive city. It was not a big city at all.
Yeah.
And that's where I was born and brought up. And the culture was very different. It was not cosmopolitan in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I saw my mother suffer a lot, through gynecological troubles. She had a hysterectomy in her 40s, and that was, I think, there was a lot of what I considered was that I used to see a lot of people falling ill all the time,
Yeah.
and we would talk about it. We would even talk about things like cancer. We would even talk about things like all kinds of. But when it came to the things that my mother was going through, I was a child. I couldn't understand it exactly,
Yeah.
but I couldn't understand that. Why is this not something we can just talk about, like we're talking about diabetes and heart diseases and
Yeah.
uncles who are getting really fat and blah, blah, blah. So, things like that. So I think that was something that really stayed with me.
Mm-hmm.
And as I grew older, I came to Delhi, I started my education, and I really started seeing that, how women's bodies are.
Yeah.
It is very essential to everything, women are leaving the workplace when they are getting pregnant,
Yeah.
and they are not getting the adequate support, for childbearing. Women in their menopausal years are not getting any support. So it was a very central thing, it was a very central thing. I saw it in my own life, I saw it in my sisters. There was somebody very close to me who had a menstrual disorder as a child,
Okay.
and she went through a lot of suffering, a lot of stigma,
Yeah.
and these things were like all there in my head, but I didn't know how to articulate as a child. And I
Yeah.
think when I started articulating it better, I realized that the way female health and female body and female sexualities are concerned,
Okay.
that is the problem.
Okay.
That these days also we see that if a woman is a rape survivor, then we don't talk about it so much as if it's her fault or
It's a
something.
taboo.
It's
Yeah.
all about the way the
Mm-hmm.
female body is situated in the culture. So I think that is what really drove me, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, rather.
I
If I
know. I
must
know.
say that way.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that's what drives.
Okay. Let me.
So
Let
I
me.
think, yeah, that's what drives me. It's mainly
Okay. Sorry for cutting you short, but let me take you back to your earlier years when you were young, when you were seeing your sisters and your mom going through all these issues. Um, was if your dad was in the picture, was he concerned? Did he used to take her to hospital? Did anyone tell you, like any male person in your family, tell you what was
yeah.
going on?
Yeah, so the thing is that in my case, what was a very huge sign of positive, thing
Hmm.
was my father's role, basically. We are two sisters in my family.
Okay.
And my father has been a very, very strong influence, a very positive and encouraging, supportive influence
Hmm.
in the lives of both his daughters. He, even though, he was traveling for work throughout my childhood, he used to buy me my sanitary napkins. I could always talk to him about my menstruation.
Yeah.
My sister is even more, open with him. So we've always had that relationship. But when it comes to awareness, his awareness was not there,
Yeah.
because we don't talk to men about it. It
Yeah.
was his nature that, he thought that his wife should get the best medical care, his daughters should be comfortable. So that nature was there, but there was no awareness.
Hmm.
Neither the women nor the men or any male in my growing up years, they did not have the awareness. In fact, even when I grew up, I'm now married, and I'm seeing how, in my culture, I don't know how it is in Kenya and everything,
Hmm.
but in my culture, there is this mindset that, oh, don't bother the boys with girl talk.
Yeah.
This is all women's issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boys shouldn't be bothered with it. So when
Exactly.
I started talking to my husband,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, well, then boyfriend, now husband, when we were dating at that time, and he used to take an interest in my health and all of that,
Yeah.
other people used to say, like, are you some kind of a sissy or something like that? Because he was a guy that was, yeah, he was a
Concerned.
guy that was taking interest in menstruation,
Hmm.
mental health, all of that. And that's our culture, that, boys who talk about these things are not considered strong men. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that is something that is a little crazy about, yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
that's the same thing across here as well. States that some of these things are taboos. I mean, these are things to do with women. The same thing that you were saying. Yeah, we shouldn't bother the guys, the boys, with this kind of talk because how does it affect them in any way? So we also grew up knowing that these are things that we don't talk to our dads about, our brothers, our
Yeah.
uncles. So yeah, we share that aspect in we share a lot in that our cultures. But was that the same with your friends? Did you hear your friends in school have the same kind of discussions with their parents, with their dads, with their brothers? Was that a conversation that you had your friends talk about?
When I was growing up in my early years, this was not a conversation at all. Because, like I said, I came from a city that was not at all cosmopolitan. It was a small town, and the mentality and the mindset was very different.
Yeah.
It was all about, study, get good marks, and have a great career. There was no concept of really talking about menstruation and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until the same group of friends, with whom I grew up,
Yeah.
when we came to college together, that's when we really started talking. That hey, we never really talked about these things back when we were in school.
True.
So when we came into the bigger city, we got an influence, a global influence. That's when the conversation started changing. So
Mm-hmm.
not during my childhood, no, not so much,
Not so much. Okay.
not so much.
All right. Then that's almost the same case with a lot of the people we've had a
Yeah,
conversation with. Because this whole month we've been having this conversation about menstrual health, and it has just been a general. It's unanimous that most of the women we've had conversations with, it was a taboo to talk to their dads, to talk to their brothers. And it's so
yeah,
sad that this is something that has been replicated across so many cultures. And it's amazing to see you and so many other women across the world trying to normalize this conversation. So we applaud you for the work that you are doing. But
thank you.
as we continue finding out more about what you're talking about, what you're doing in the field, when you talk about women's health, in India, do you involve the men in the conversations currently? And how are they um, accepting such kind of conversations? I mean, is it something that they're willing to come to the table to talk about?
The answer is yes, things are changing very fast. It is still not something that is very widely accepted, but things are changing. Everywhere I go, I see that men are willing to listen. They're at least, even if they're asking the wrong questions, they're at least asking. And I see it as a sign of progress. I'll give you a small example. When I got married in a family that has two sons.
Yeah.
And I'm like, after my mother in law, I'm the first girl to enter the family.
Yeah.
And my father in law was initially shocked by me that, okay, this girl speaks her mind, she's fierce, she's all of that. And today, it's been like just a couple of years or something. Today, he sits on the front row when we organize FemCon. He sits
Oh,
on the front row while we're talking about breast cancer and vaginal health and vaginal discharge and miscarriage and mental health. He sits on the front row and he applauds, all the speakers.
he's the
So, this
loudest.
is change.
Yeah.
The change is, yeah, the change is slow, the
Mhm.
change is painful, the change requires a lot of emotional labor because we are talking to people we are emotionally connected with.
Yeah.
But it happens. And today in our country, yes, the change is happening very fast.
Mhm.
I'm very happy to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In school, primary school, high school, do you have programs that are teaching girls how to take care of themselves, how to know more information
Hmm.
about their menstrual health and their hygiene? Is that happening in the curriculum? Is it part of the curriculum?
Actually, so this is an interesting question because as part of school curriculums, this is not very common,
Yeah.
even now in our country. But there are many organizations, many companies that are working with parents groups for this kind of an education. I've
Mm-hmm.
got a few examples. There is this book
Okay.
called Menstrupedia. This is a book that came out like nearly a decade ago, and it's a comic book. It's a comic book around menstruation,
Oh,
menstrual hygiene, and all of that.
that's
And
impressive.
this was started like nearly like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And slowly they have been able to talk to more and more parents and more. So in school, no, it is not happening. In some schools, maybe in some very posh schools
Yeah.
in the bigger cities. But there are more and more organizations that are coming up that are working. There are more examples. There is this one book called Spreading the Wings. Now, while this book, which was 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
this talks about Whisper and Stay Free and all these, and they've written comics and everything. In this book, this was I think published just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
This has a very different approach towards menstruation. Here they are talking about sustainable menstruation,
Mm.
how to use cloth pads. They've got illustrations of the uterus and the vagina and things like that.
Yeah.
They've got mention of the menstrual cup and cloth pads over here.
Yeah.
You know, so
I,
this is something that is again so outside of schools, there are various NGOs and organizations and women-led companies
mm-hmm.
that are providing these kind of books and digital programming to have this conversation. So
Okay.
that target audience is definitely being reached.
All
Yeah.
right. And in the same breath, as we teach the kids the girls and the women how to use these products and also reach the right information, are we also teaching them on the right methods of disposing these
Yeah.
menstrual waste products?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting question, very important one. And yes, generally now these days, what's happening is that there are more and more menstrual educators that are coming into the picture. They're still not very popular. They're still not in every small town of the country. India it's an enormous country. Like it's a very complicated and enormous country,
With a
and
huge population.
huge population.
Yeah.
So yes, right now the change is in some pockets. It's not like all over the country,
Mm-hmm.
but whenever there is this conversation, the conversation is very body positive in nature. For instance, I'll show you another book. I'm just showing examples because I'd love to share about these things. And these can be made available to people in Kenya as well.
Yeah, and it
This
helps.
book, it's
They
called
actually
Bodytalk.
help with this conversation.
Yeah, so this
Body
book is
talk.
called Body Talk.
Uh-huh.
This was written many years ago. This book talks about, topics like self-esteem, body hair, skin tone, getting to know your breasts, sexual fantasies, masturbation,
Mm-hmm.
kissing, lesbianism, and even things like menstruation, how to dispose, how to keep your vaginal health clean,
Yeah.
using protection, all of that. So it has got a very, very, like, I don't know if you can see, like, just look at the kind of topics, like even topics like consent,
Mm-hmm.
topics like, how to deal with rejection in high school.
Yeah.
These are things that we don't normally talk about, but this is all there in these books. Acne, body image, it's all there. So this book is very old, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I have, this edition, let me give me a second. This is actually pretty old. It was in the year. Okay, I cannot see which year it was, but it's pretty old. It was like long time ago that I bought this book.
Yeah.
So it's year 2010. This book is from 2010, so like 11 years before this.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, like it takes a lot of time for all the billions of people to get access to these things.
Yeah.
But the conversation is there. So whenever there is conversation about menstruation,
Mm-hmm.
these days the idea of safe disposal, sanitary disposal, it has increased and it is becoming very, very body positive and rights based in its nature.
All right. Maybe you can paint for us a picture on how is it in India? How do companies dispose on how do girls actually dispose of their menstrual products? Is there a system in place by the government, by private bodies? Because I don't know whether you actually caught the video that was playing before you came on. There were girls talking about how they just throw their pads off out the window so
Yeah,
that it flows with the river, and others just,
yeah,
people are just reckless. They just leave them and dump them on the
yeah,
roadside. So is
yeah,
that
yeah.
happening in India as well? Is there a system?
So, again, like I said, that there are some rules and regulations in place, but there is still a very large number of people that are throwing their waste in a very irresponsible manner, right? Even though the rules and regulations are there, but the implementation of those rules and regulations is very weak.
Hmm.
So therefore, a lot of people, they just don't care. They are just careless about other people and the environment, and they just throw away their pads. But more and more companies are coming into the picture
Okay.
that have started selling along with the pads. They also sell disposal bags. So you get the sanitary napkins, and in the same product, you also get disposal bags.
Okay.
So this is now teaching people to wrap it in that disposal bag, which is eco-friendly. It is non-plastic,
Hmm.
and you then dispose it. So more and more people are doing that, but it's still a big problem. Irresponsible disposal of waste is a big problem in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is another thing that I would like to highlight over here, since we're talking about the socio-cultural dynamics.
Yeah.
In India, the caste system is something that is a very big factor. It is something that not a lot of people in the world know about,
Yeah.
but it is somewhat like, if I have to draw a very loose parallel, very loosely, if I have to draw a parallel, it is something like racism, but among caste.
Yeah.
And what happens is, a lot of the sanitation workers in our country, they belong to a certain caste. And there is a lot of discrimination against, people of that caste.
Okay.
And a lot of people who are now talking about eco-friendly waste, and they're not now talking about products like menstrual cups and all of that.
Yeah.
The main argument is that no human being should pick up the dirty pad that has been disposed by another person.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is a human rights issue for us. So more and more people are raising this voice, but it's a very difficult battle. In India, this is a very, very difficult battle, because the first step is to actually start talking about menstruation. The next step is to talk about how to dispose it.
Yeah.
So we are still struggling with the first step a little bit, and hopefully we'll get to the next as well.
Okay. But you are doing something in those lines of how to create sustainable products that are friendly, that are eco-friendly to the environment. You can talk about that. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So, the thing is that my work is in the space of hormonal and nutritional health. So we look at female health as a whole. We don't just talk about menstrual health. In fact, our philosophy in Thea Care is that female health is much more than menstrual health. The female hormones that cause menstruation also are responsible for digestive health, bone health, breast health, all of that. So we look at female health beyond the uterus. That's what our philosophy is, beyond the uterus. So that's the work of my organization.
Okay.
But I'm involved with many initiatives. I'm involved with many campaigns and initiatives and groups that are working on things like, popularizing the menstrual cup, for instance,
All right. Okay.
talking more about the menstrual cups, talking more about, breaking the virginity myth and all of that. So that is something that I'm doing at a very, this thing, because the idea is twofold. One is that what is the raw material that is being used, and this is very important, not just for India. This is very important for global South, for countries in Africa, for countries in Latin America, for countries in Asia. The big manufacturers, are they doing any quality control when they are making these disposable sanitary pads? So first of all, our obligation is towards our health. The commercially available sanitary napkins are laced with bleach and chemical and plastic, and it is not good for our health.
Yeah.
That is point number one.
Yeah.
Point number two is that it is not good for the environment. And point number three is that how do we account for the waste that is being generated?
True.
That is now a problem that is related to climate change. So these are the three levels. So we start with health, then we go to environment, and the third step is to talk about solid waste generation as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Have you found any solutions in any of those three categories that you are trying to figure how to dispose waste, how to what part we are playing in the climate change, even as we lack the methods of disposing these menstrual products? Have you found solutions around them?
Yeah, I think when we say solutions, there are two ways of looking at it. One is the product itself. Products like these exist. The menstrual cup exists. There are similar things like, there are biodegradable sanitary napkins. There are organic sanitary napkins. There are seaweed sponges. These products all, they exist, right? Yeah. But the problem is, how do we educate people? So we have seen that what works best is intervention on the basis of health. That is what works the best. If you tell a person that, the environment is getting polluted, this is happening, so insert a menstrual cup, nobody will do that.
Yeah.
But if you start telling them in an empathetic and rights-based manner that you deserve a more informed choice for your menstrual health, then they are more likely to pick up an alternative. If you say, the entire burden of the world ending is also on the shoulders of a menstruating woman, then they are not going to listen to you,
Yeah.
as they shouldn't, because comfort of the women matters.
Mm-hmm.
But if you tell them that, hey, let's take a step back and look at the products that you're using. Are they really safe? Are they really healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And this is an alternative. It's a little difficult, it's a little hard to try, but give it a try. That's how you have the conversation, and women are more likely to adopt new methods and new alternatives then. So
Okay.
that is something that has really worked in my experience.
Okay. Other than the menstrual cup that you have been promoting, I actually saw something about banana fiber pads
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
have also been having a conversation about. Maybe you can tell us about that. How do you make them out of the banana fiber, first and foremost?
Yeah, so basically in our country, banana is available in a very large quantity. So, given our geography and our location and our industry,
Mhm.
banana fiber is very cheap to get and it's very easy to manufacture.
Okay.
And banana fiber is hydrophobic.
Yeah.
What do I mean by hydrophobic? So, if this is a banana peel and you drop some water, it will not pass, it does not absorb water.
Yeah.
So instead of plastic, people can put a layer of banana fiber. And there is a very famous company in India called Sathi pads. Sathi means friend or
Okay.
a supporter or a companion. It's a
Yeah.
Hindi word, it
Okay.
means companion. So it's a very famous company called Sathi pads, which is championing the cause of banana fiber pads. And they have done some wonderful research, and we have done some wonderful research as well on what are the raw materials that make for good pads. So there's banana fiber and there is also corn fiber. So
Okay.
corn fiber is not it is not I mean it is not hydrophobic, so it cannot replace plastic.
Yeah.
So you will still need a layer of plastic for a corn fiber pad, but it is much more biodegradable and organic in nature.
Okay.
So a current commercial sanitary napkin is made completely of plastic and nothing but plastic.
Yeah.
But in comparison to that, a corn fiber pad is much more eco-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But the best is a banana fiber pad because it completely does away with the need of a layer of plastic, because that acts as a plastic layer at the
Okay.
bottom because it does not let water pass through. So
Okay.
that is basically the idea and the technology behind it.
Okay, so is it made just like the normal reusable pads?
No, no, these are not normal reusable pads. These are disposable pads.
No, I'm asking.
Reusable pads are made of cloth.
No, I'm
Yeah,
asking how they are designed. The banana
they are
fiber.
designed. Yeah, they are designed like a normal, a normal sanitary napkin, like a Whisper or Stay Free or something.
Yeah.
They look very similar, but the color is a little creamish. It's not white
Okay.
because it does not use bleach, right?
Yeah.
The kind of sanitary napkins we have in the market, they're absolutely white because they're using chemicals and bleaches. So
Okay.
this banana fiber pad is actually slightly like light brown in color, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but it looks and feels exactly the same. The
Okay.
technology has, like this is a very old company. Sathi Pads in India has been around for a very long time, and they have developed their product very much over a period of time.
Okay.
And the pads are thin, they're comfortable to use. They started making long pads also.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it. It looks very much like a commercial pad, but it's completely biodegradable.
Oh, amazing, amazing. How is the uptake? Is it being used a lot there?
Unfortunately, not, because, like I said, the technology is very expensive.
Yeah.
So while a normal sanitary napkin, I mean, it is almost like three times the cost of a normal sanitary napkin. So in a country like India, where which is not a very rich country
Yeah.
overall,
Mm-hmm.
the average man is still like middle class and everything.
Yeah.
And the second is the mindset that women don't like to, or families don't like to spend so much on female health.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, while this amazing product exists, because the technology is so expensive, the price is a little high. So while their market is growing, it's still not very large,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate
So
because
as compared to that,
yeah.
sorry, but you please go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was saying that's actually a very that's something that needs to be pushed further because I mean they are biodegradable, so we'll be playing our part in reducing the waste that we are filling the landfills with. So I wish that technology could be developed, to also reach the other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, so the idea of the cost problem is solved to a very great extent by the menstrual cup, because menstrual cup, one cup can last you for 5 years at least.
Yeah.
If you, this is like medical grade silicone.
Yeah.
It's not plastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's so silicone as a material is sterile. What do I mean by sterile? That means if this is your uterus, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put it up like this, up like you insert it in this way. Sorry, I'm trying to do it with one hand. Give me a second. You insert it like this from here.
Yeah.
This is the vaginal sort of canal,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how your cup goes, and it sort of sticks here.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that it does not react with any fluids or acid or anything inside the body. This is the material, right?
Yeah.
Plastic will react, every other material will react.
Very true.
Medical grade silicone is a sterile material that does not react. So it's a safe material to put inside your body. It saves money and it saves the environment. So this is the reason why the menstrual cup is slowly but steadily becoming more popular in our part of the country.
Yeah. Okay. As we move along in this conversation about menstrual disposal waste, I noticed that you have talked about creating a tool that actually measures how much menstrual waste that is disposed out. Do you have any numbers that you can share with us now, and how does that tool work to alleviate the menstrual waste?
Okay, so I'm wondering if I can share the link towards the tool.
Okay.
But let me just try to open it on my phone itself, right? Just give me a second. So this tool is actually not created personally by me.
Okay.
I'm a part of this community called Global Shapers Community, which is an initiative of the World Economic Forum, and a team in the New Delhi hub has created this tool. Okay. All
Very
right. So
clear.
over here it says, as you can say, that the menstrual waste calculator, India produces 9,000 tons of sanitary waste every year, and this calculator is an initiative of the Global Shapers New Delhi Hub, and it will help you understand the environmental impact of using sanitary pads. Okay, so the number of sanitary pads I use every day. I don't know how many. Let's say I use 3 pads, right?
Yeah.
And the number of days for which I have my menstrual flow is 5 days. So you
Okay.
can see the calculation happening. Can you see that on my screen?
Yeah, I can see that.
So the number of plastic bags worth of waste, 25,200. And the number of years it will take to decompose is 500 to 900 years. So think about it for a second. The first sanitary napkin that was actually invented in the world is still there in the environment.
It hasn't been.
The
Yeah.
very first sanitary napkin that was made, that was manufactured, that was created in this world is still out there. So that should can give us a moment of perspective that is how long it takes to decompose, and it's like 12.6 kgs of waste and 3.53 square meters of landfill. So this is basically how the idea of this tool is to give you a sense of what it is. Like one pad is not just one pad. One pad is plastic that is existing in our landfills for 500 to 900 years. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
That's
you know?
crazy. It's actually, yeah, it is a big deal. That's wow.
Yeah.
We are really causing so much environmental harm to our environment.
Yeah.
Every day, a lady somewhere is menstruating, and every day someone is throwing a pad out there, and it's just going to fill a landfill somewhere, causing so much pollution. I really pray that we find a solution to this
Yeah.
global problem.
So, I have one comment to make over here, which is something that I keep whenever I talk about sustainable menstruation.
Yeah.
It's important for us to put this in perspective. Yes, sanitary waste is a big problem.
Yeah, it is.
But in our country, sanitary waste, I just shared that number, 9,000 tons of sanitary waste every year, right? It's a huge number. That is less than 2% of the total waste generated in the country. So even though it is 9,000 tons every year, it is less than 2% of the
Of the
total
waste.
waste generated in our country.
Yeah.
So while it is extremely important to think about the environment and to think about the sanitation workers who are picking up your menstrual waste,
Mm-hmm.
the health and comfort of women is the most important thing. If
True.
you're not able to switch to a menstrual cup right away,
Uh-huh.
no problem. Look for cloth pads, look for biodegradable sanitary napkins, look for organic pads, dispose them in a responsible manner so that a human being is not touching your menstrual blood,
Yeah.
because they have dignity too. Sanitation workers also have dignity.
Yeah.
So
True.
dispose them, wrap them in a tissue, wrap them in a newspaper, put it in a like a paper bag, and then dispose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put some kind of a thread or something around it, and then dispose it, so that even if you are not able to make the switch,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people have problems with insertion. It's not an easy transition that I will wake up one day and I say, let me insert a menstrual cup. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen that way. It's a
Yeah.
difficult transition.
Yeah.
So at least you can do is educate yourself on environmental friendly alternatives, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, dispose your sanitary napkins in a safe and responsible manner. Your menstrual blood should not cause disease and harm and infection to another human being.
Yeah.
You have the right to comfort, but you do not have the right to infect another person. So, what do? You wrap your sanitary napkin in a cloth or a tissue or a newspaper, put it in a paper bag, close that paper bag properly,
Mm-hmm.
and dispose it.
Yeah.
You don't just like throw it in the air or flush it down the
And flush
toilet.
it down the
That is
toilet. Yeah.
disgusting. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And as I check on our YouTube channel for any conversations, I am seeing we have Brad who is saying wonderful conversations, and Caroline is saying these are very insightful conversation. I actually am learning so much from you, and thank you even for the passion in which you are sharing a lot of this information with our viewers, because these are conversations that we don't have on a daily basis, and I think we need to keep normalizing having these conversations. They are good for our health as
yeah.
women. They're good for the environment, and it definitely makes this world a better place. Before I let you go, I also saw some interest about the FemCon.
Yeah.
Maybe you can share with us what FemCon is about. I actually found that that's a very interesting contest. So talk about it, the festival, what normally happens in those festivals, and why did you actually see the need to begin such a festival?
Just give me a second. Something just played in the background.
Okay,
So sorry for that.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so FemCon is something that I created in my head because I was a little tired, because women's health is much more than menstruation. Women's health is much more than just pregnancy and childbirth. In many cultures, it's a radical thought, but it's the truth. In our country, even today, people are concerned that menstrual health should be okay, fertility should be fine, you've become a mother, that's it. After that, we don't talk about women's health at all. We don't talk about menopause. So we talk about visibilizing the uterus. I can guarantee you that some of the most educated people in the country will not be able to label all of this
Yeah,
properly.
yeah,
They
true.
don't know what this is. They don't know what this is. They don't know what this is. I can guarantee that the most educated people in the world will not be able to completely talk about, all parts of the uterus,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And for me, it was something very annoying because, like I said, my story begins with the mothers, and I saw that she had two daughters, everything was fine, and after that, she was invisibilized.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was that after she has become a mother, her health does not matter. And that was shocking for me. That was terrible for me because, I mean, I will be a mother, say, in my 30s or something,
Yeah.
and I've got like a huge life ahead of me after that. And
Mm-hmm.
my health in those decades matters equally, right?
Yeah, it does.
So, FemCon is a festival that celebrates women beyond the uterus. that first of all, know about the uterus.
Yeah.
Visible. We know what a kidney looks like. If I show you a kidney, you'll say, oh yeah, that's a kidney.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a heart, that's a lung. But if I say this, what is this? What is this? I can guarantee you that a lot of people will not be able to understand that this is actually the vaginal canal.
Yeah,
This
true.
is the cervix.
Yeah.
This is the endometrium that flows out, of the vaginal canal as a menstrual discharge. So, number one, visibilize the uterus, destigmatize the uterus. There is no reason why the uterus, a powerful 3-inch organ. This is an organ that is just 3 inches,
Yeah,
but
imagine
it is
that.
such a
Yeah.
powerful organ. It's a magical 3-inch organ. We need to know more about it. And number two, after we have learned about it, we need to go beyond. We have to talk about female mental health.
Yeah.
We have to talk about breast cancer. We have to talk about menopausal health. So that's the idea with which we created FemCon. And I've got a short video of 2 minutes, and I'd love to share that with you. Give me a second, I will just share my screen. I'm playing it.
Okay. You can actually expand the screen to the full screen. All right. There we go. Nice. I love that. I love that. I've actually seen something that was so interesting. Stand up for what's down there. That's a very nice tagline.
We call it a festival. A lot of people said that, why do you call FemCon not a summit or a conference, but a festival?
Yeah.
And I said, because it's a festival. It is a festival, like just because we're talking about female health and menstruation doesn't mean that we will become all serious and only talk about, books and stuff. This is a festival where women are coming together, doctors are coming, lawmakers, manufacturers, everybody's coming. And you saw, there was a girl that was reading a book on female health.
Yeah.
A little girl. I think that captures the essence. For me, that captures the essence of FemCon, that, young people are being exposed to body positive, rights based conversation at that age. And we gave out, these books. We call it the Book of Boobs, which is basically a book on breast health.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's a book on breast health. And, there is another book that we gave away that was PMS 101. So premenstrual syndrome, it's a
Mm-hmm.
small ebook. And very simple, very pictorial, like nothing like boring stuff. Like, this much content like this, like very colorful, very like, so not very content heavy. And the idea basically is two things. One is that women need to start investing in women's health. A lot of entrepreneurs will tell you, oh, you know what, the investor is not listening to me and this and that.
Yeah.
And that's very true. Investors are male, and many times they don't understand and they don't invest.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, are women investing in their
In
own health?
themselves. Yeah.
Are they investing time to look at the right sources of information?
Mm-hmm.
Are they investing money for better products and better facilities and better services?
Yeah.
We first have to make a case. We have to make a case that a woman's health is a woman's capital.
Yeah.
And then we will change the world around us, and then we will encourage other people to invest in it. So like I said, visualize the uterus and then go beyond the uterus.
Mm-hmm.
Female health is a whole thing. It's not just about menstruation. It's much more than that.
Much more to
And
that. Yeah.
that's the idea mainly.
Basically, stand up for what's down there. I love that. I really, really
Absolutely.
I
Stand
love
up for absolutely.
I love that. I love that. Where can we access? You have very interesting materials and information about menstrual health, menstrual hygiene. Is there a way we can access that here, right here in Kenya? From your
Yes,
end?
this ebook,
Yeah.
we had given a physical copy of this at FemCon,
Okay.
but a digital ebook, free ebook exists on our website. You
Okay.
can just go there and download it for free. So our
What's the
website is thea.care. I don't know how to put it. Shall I put it on chat here? I don't know. Uh,
Thea.care?
yeah, do you want me to just share the screen for my website or something?
I think we can also share it when one. It's www.thea.care. Thea.care.
Thea.care. Yes, it's basically Thea.care. Very easy to remember. THEA.
Mm-hmm.
Thea.care.
Yeah.
And you will find all the materials.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'm just sharing my screen. So this is our website. You
All
will
right.
see webinars over here, PCOS, menstruation and mental health, pelvic health, menstruation and food. These are all webinars. These are videos.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can download all our ebooks. Menstruation at work, premenstrual syndrome, book of boobs, emergency FAQs for women's health for COVID. Then there are blogs. You will find all kinds of things on our website. So it's thea.care.
.care.
So that's our website.
Fantastic, fantastic. I love all that information that you're sharing out there on that site. I'm gonna be sure to check it out after this conversation. I'm heading there right now. I'm totally loving everything that you're doing. Let me shout out some questions actually on the YouTube channel. There's a comment here from Nancy. She says, "This is very educative. Thank you so much for an insightful conversation." And there's a question here from Caroline. She's asking, won't wrapping a used pad on a paper bag make it even worse to decompose?
Not at all, because the paper is compostable. So there are two concepts we have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
One is biodegradable and one is compostable.
Yeah.
Everything in the world is biodegradable. Even this cup that I'm drinking out of, it's a ceramic cup. This is also biodegradable.
Okay.
Plastic is also biodegradable, but it takes centuries to degrade.
All right.
Right? It will degrade in 500 to 900 years and 1,000 years. It will degrade.
Mm-hmm.
So biodegradable is everything, but compostable. Compostable means that if under natural circumstances, in a natural frame of time, will a thing disintegrate into organic materials?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what we have to do. So things that are compostable, if given the right soil conditions or temperature conditions, so under normal circumstances, will it degrade or compost at in our lifetime at least? You know what I mean? Like not 500 years.
Yes.
So, So that's compostable. So yes, so not at all. If you're wrapping it in paper, paper is absolutely compostable. It will degrade very easily, and it will not affect the pad in any way at all. In fact, cloth is better. If you can wrap it in cloth first
Mm-hmm.
and then put it in paper and dispose it out, then cloth stays a little longer than paper, and it will still sort of hold your sanitary napkin in a way that it doesn't like infect other human beings or other animals
Yeah.
who might be in the landfills.
Yeah.
So cloth and paper is a very good combination. It will not affect the decomposition of the pad at all.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have totally had an insightful conversation with you. For sure, you're just a wealth of information in this world, in this field of women health and hygiene, and we enjoyed having a chat with you. Your name is I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get that name. I was in an Indian school, so I'm gonna get that name very soon. So yes, my primary school years. So yeah, it wasn't too tricky, but I will get the intonation and everything. But we are utterly grateful for having the time, getting the time to have a chat with us, and yeah, sharing with us all that information and your insights. We it was it was worthwhile. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I congratulate you for conducting this, for basically building bridges and going beyond borders
Yeah.
and, getting experts from all over the place. It is such a pleasure to see synergies. The global south
Yeah.
has very serious, common problems.
Hmm.
And female health and the issue of gender is is a commonality in the global south, and
True.
it's so like amazing to have a conversation with like vibrant dazzling women like yourself. All the best for all the work that you are personally doing, and happy to chat offline and be of any help if possible.
Thank you so much. We will definitely touch base, and I am looking forward to actually seeing a FemCon here in Kenya. You're giving us ideas, so yeah, looking forward to actually
Yeah.
seeing a safe space for women, to share everything that's going on around their health and their mental health as well.
Most welcome. I'll be so happy to collaborate with Black Boy TV
Hmm.
and get something going. Like I'll share the blueprint of it, and please fix the topics according to your context.
Yeah,
And I'll be very, very happy to help you organize something that might be meaningful to the audiences there. Looking
absolutely.
forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.